What if emotional stability in later life isn't about luck, personality, or even circumstances, but about a few daily habits most people completely overlook? Many assume emotional wellness naturally declines with age, but that's not entirely accurate. What usually changes is structure, how attention is used, how thoughts are processed, and how social and mental routines are maintained. Without intentional habits, the mind can slowly drift toward overthinking, emotional fatigue, and low motivation. In this video, we'll break down 5 practical habits that directly shape emotional wellness in seniors. These are not vague, think positive ideas, but simple behavioral shifts that help regulate thoughts, reduce mental noise, and build a calmer, more grounded emotional state in everyday life. 1. Train your brain for positivity. One of the most overlooked causes of emotional decline in later life is perceptual narrowing. When routines become predictable, the brain stops registering novelty. Days start feeling repetitive, and that repetition quietly drains emotional energy. A powerful way to reverse this is to deliberately train attention towards small moments of beauty or meaning. This is not about forcing positivity or ignoring problems. It is about expanding what your brain actually notices. A simple evening habit can shift this pattern. Spend a few minutes before bed recalling one moment from the day that felt visually, emotionally, or intellectually striking. It could be something as small as light falling across a wall, the sound of birds at a certain time of day, or a line from a conversation that stayed in your mind. The key is specificity. The more detailed the memory, the more the brain strengthens its emotional encoding. This process engages regions of the brain associated with emotional regulation and reduces activity in threat-based thinking patterns. Over time, this habit reduces the tendency to focus only on problems or worries. It expands emotional range and helps restore a sense of engagement with the world. 2. Reframe your personal history. A common emotional challenge in later life is not memory itself, but the way memory is interpreted. As people reflect on past decisions, relationships, and missed opportunities, it is easy for regret to dominate thinking. When that happens, the past stops being a source of wisdom and becomes a source of emotional weight. The healthier alternative is not to avoid the past, but to actively reframe it. This means consciously revisiting difficult memories with a structured mindset rather than an emotional one. Instead of asking, "Why did that happen to me?" the shift becomes, "What did I develop because I went through that?" This subtle change forces the brain to identify resilience, coping skills, and personal growth that were built through experience. This kind of cognitive reframing is not self-deception. It is psychological restructuring. The brain does not naturally store events in neutral form. It stores them with emotional meaning attached. By revisiting memories with intention, you can update that emotional meaning. Over time, this reduces emotional reactivity linked to past events. It also strengthens identity stability, helping you see yourself as someone who has adapted and survived, rather than someone defined by loss or regret. 3. Protect your personal time. One of the most underestimated sources of emotional exhaustion in retirement is overaccessibility. Once work obligations disappear, many people unintentionally become constantly available to others. Family requests, social commitments, errands, and informal obligations can begin filling every part of the day. At first, this may feel meaningful, but without boundaries it slowly turns into emotional fatigue. When personal time disappears, resentment often builds quietly, even in relationships that are otherwise positive. A practical habit is to deliberately create protected time blocks in your week, where you are not available for external demands. These periods are not about isolation. They are about restoring autonomy. During this time, the goal is simple. Do something that is entirely self-directed. No obligations, no productivity pressure, and no emotional responsibility toward others. It could be reading, walking, resting, learning, or simply doing nothing structured at all. This type of boundary setting is important because emotional wellness depends heavily on perceived control over one's life. When every hour feels allocated by someone else's needs, internal stress levels increase even in the absence of obvious conflict. Protecting time is not selfish behavior. It is psychological maintenance. Without it, emotional fatigue accumulates silently and shows up later as irritability, anxiety, or withdrawal. Another important layer is learning to communicate these boundaries clearly. Many people fail not because they lack time, but because they avoid saying no directly. A polite but firm refusal, without long explanations or guilt-driven justification, helps preserve both relationships and personal energy. Over-explaining often invites negotiation, which weakens the boundary. It also helps to recognize that availability creates expectation. If you respond instantly every time someone calls, messages, or requests help, people naturally begin to assume you are always free. Reducing responsiveness is not rudeness. It is behavioral retraining of your social environment. Finally, emotional balance improves when structured routines are reintroduced into retirement life. Even simple anchors like fixed morning rituals, scheduled leisure activities, or planned solitude reduce the feeling of being pulled in every direction. Structure does not reduce freedom. It protects it from being unintentionally consumed by others. 4. Build small social connections. When people think about emotional health, they often focus only on close relationships. While family and close friends are important, research consistently shows that casual social interactions also play a major role in emotional stability. These small interactions with familiar faces in everyday environments create what sociologists call weak ties. These include brief conversations with shopkeepers, neighbors, or regular community members. What makes these interactions powerful is their low emotional demand. They do not require deep emotional labor, but they still provide recognition, familiarity, and a sense of belonging. A useful habit is to create small social routines around your environment. Visiting the same place regularly at similar times helps the brain build familiarity loops. Over time, this creates a subtle sense of being part of a living social system rather than existing in isolation. Even brief greetings or simple exchanges can reduce feelings of loneliness significantly. The brain interprets recognition as social safety, even when the interaction is short. This is important because emotional resilience is not built only through deep conversations. It is also reinforced through consistent micro-level social exposure that keeps the nervous system socially engaged. Additionally, these weak ties often act as emotional buffers during stressful periods because they provide connection without obligation or intensity. Over time, they can subtly improve mood regulation and reduce perceived social isolation. 5. Structure your daily worries. Worry is one of the most persistent emotional drains in later life. Health concerns, financial uncertainty, and family responsibilities can easily turn into continuous background stress. The problem is not worry itself, but its lack of structure. When worry is uncontained, it spreads across the entire day and interferes with sleep, focus, and mood. A more effective approach is to assign worry a specific time and place. This may sound unusual, but it works because it trains the brain to stop treating anxiety as an all-day process. Instead of allowing worries to appear randomly throughout the day, they are written down during a short, scheduled period. Once recorded, they are set aside physically and mentally. This creates a psychological separation between thinking and reacting. When worries arise later, the brain learns that they do not require immediate attention. Over time, this reduces the emotional load of anxiety. It also improves sleep quality because the mind is no longer trying to process unresolved concerns at night. The goal is not to eliminate worry completely. The goal is to prevent it from occupying every mental space throughout the day. Emotional wellness in later life is not something that happens automatically. It is built through repeated, intentional habits that shape how the brain processes memory, attention, connection, and stress. Small daily practices like noticing meaningful moments, reframing personal history, protecting personal time, engaging in casual social interaction, and structuring worry all work together to create emotional stability. The key idea is consistency. These habits do not produce instant transformation, but over time they rewire how emotional patterns form. Retirement becomes less about managing decline and more about building a stable, grounded, and mentally clear way of living. There you have it. 8 income streams you can start this year, whether it's through AI licensing, niche content, or fractional investments. Each of these strategies can help you generate income without a massive upfront investment. The key is to start small and scale over time. If you found these ideas valuable, make sure to like this video, share it with anyone who could benefit, and subscribe for more actionable strategies to build your wealth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.